we got a lot to talk about. We could talk for hours.
Yeah, man. I want to know. I want to hear about the gym. Like, how's the gym going?
Oh, it's going good, dude. It's like so we're 7 months in right now.
7 months.
You know,
holy
man. Time has flown by. It's crazy. We're doing our best to try to grow, you know, but we're I mean, we have exceeded a lot of our own goals, but we have a lot of higher expectations. So,
yeah. I mean, what does the growth look like? How are y'all marketing for y'all's area? And I saw y'all doing were y'all doing a farmer's market? Or
we have some different markets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the one most recent was at a grand opening for like an acquaintance's business, and they were doing like a big party for the grand opening. That was the most recent one, but we pretty much sunk every penny we had plus pennies we didn't have into this business to start it. So is for an entrepreneur, like, to have marketing funds after doing that, we have learned is really important.
Yeah.
So we've been doing like knocking on doors. I mean, like, boots on the ground, popping up everywhere we can. Like,
hell yeah,
everything, man. There's not very many options for good free marketing that doesn't take a ton of effort. What's your take
on that free market? I'll let y'all get back because I want to hear her input. Do y'all use Canva?
No.
What is that?
It's I don't know what the best way to use it, but it's like a presentation tool. So like a lot of my graphics that I used to make for my podcast and stuff, or the thumbnails, I make it all in Canva. And I thought that y'all were using Canva because y'all use like y'all's post for y'all were doing like informational post. Well, yeah. How do y'all make that? What tool do y'all use?
It's just a random app called PicMonkey.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds good.
Yeah, it's like this random. I used to have it for Katie Mays for the online boutique, and so it just inherently became this app.
That's cool.
They look good. That's all her. All her.
I'll send you Canva link, and through so I was using Canva way before I started the nonprofit, and one of the benefits of having a nonprofit is you get a lot of free stuff. And
there you go.
And I heard about Canva offers a free program, or like you can add up to 50 people part of your organization through Canva. So all of my friends that are content creators, I've been like getting them on Canva because they pay, it's like 11 or 12 bucks a month. So it's not like a lot, but it is, it's something. So I'll send y'all the link. I'll add y'all, and y'all can have y'all's own like folder. I won't go snooping in it or anything like that. Yeah, it'll just be y'all folders. Y'all's folder or whatever. But yeah, it's free, so you can add, like, you can make videos in it, you make thumbnails in it. It's pretty limitless. And I actually, for the nonprofit, I made a website for the nonprofit through Canva. So they're trying to compete with Photoshop. You know how like so you can edit photos in there. It's like literally endless. So I'll send y'all the link. Y'all can use it for your stuff.
Yeah, that would help a lot because we do have like multiple apps for like multiple things. Like you said, like I feel like I've got an app for everything, and then you're kind of like trying to save it, download it, transfer it. Like you're like, oh, I'm going to record this on this app, and then I'm going to add it to this app and edit it through this app, and then add the words on this app, and you're like, oh, like, whoa.
Yeah, it's too much. It's a lot. I understand why fitness influencers or just social media influencers in general have a content creation team. That's almost like a necessity now for every business, is to have like a content creation team for you. So that's
100%. Yeah, like you doing it yourself, like running your business and then like trying to wear all the other hats. Yeah. It'll make you go crazy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So who's more of like the content creation, like thinking about stuff to post between the both of y'all?
I think I probably do more of the content creating, and Trenton does more of the posting. So like I'll send it to him. He'll be like, hey Kate, can you like create this and make this when you get a chance? And then I'll send it to him, and he'll like actually make sure it gets posted.
That's a good workflow. That's a good balance, I think.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, but it's tough, dude. You know, like you create all your content. Like it's probably just you, isn't it? Like between you and Kelsey.
Yeah, dude. I want my wife to be like the face of it, you know, but she's so uncomfortable with talking in front of the camera. She doesn't like being on camera, and she's just uncomfortable doing it. It's not a natural thing for her. And
Yeah.
I try to boost her up. I'm like, oh, you're so hot. Just people want to see how hot you are. Like people think you're sexy. They want to see how sexy you are, but she's just not about it, dude. So I don't like, it feels unnatural. It feels weird talking about like skincare stuff from a guy's perspective. It just doesn't feel natural. So I don't know, but we try to share it though. Like I'll write like a script for her, and she needs the script. But for me, like I have an idea of like, oh, like we're gonna do a series of like what tallow is, who like where tallow started from, and blah blah blah. And I don't need like a script. I can just kind of like go off the wall of like, okay, I'm gonna do a video real quick, 30 seconds of what tallow is. But she needs like a defined like script, what I'm gonna say. And then and then she sounds like a robot. She's like, I think you should go to the website. No. She's getting better though. She's gotten a lot better. We did a video last week of like how she uses her favorite like tallow or whatever, and she did pretty good. So I'm proud of her. Just to
It's tough.
Work.
Social media is tough.
You
man.
like judge yourself the whole time too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I was definitely like that before I opened up my online boutique, like Katie Mae's. Like had to be solely my face, but that was still so awkward. Like a couple years ago, like when I'd have Trenton before I hired someone to take the photos and could be at that level, I had Trenton taking the photos, and I'd like look at the photos and I'd be like, oh my God, I hate that. What did you do? Like, oh my God, that's horrible. Like you told me I looked hot. I definitely don't look hot. Yeah. And you're like doing this and you're going back and forth and back and forth, and then you get so discouraged and you're like, you know what, I'm just done. I'm just done.
Oh, for sure. There's a direct like link between, at least for us, with how much we post and how much we sell. There's a direct connection because we can basically see through our Shopify app where our sales are coming from, and you know how they get to our website, and it's all through social media. So if we didn't have social media, I don't know what the hell we'd do. You know?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I feel awesome. That. Yeah. It was. I just finally closed down like 2 or 3 weeks ago the Awakening the Tranquil Warrior website, because now we can sell the books through our website, and they're on Amazon and like all over the place.
That was kind of another thing. Yeah, when you get like caught up in all these websites.
Yeah, you wind up having like 12 websites. Yeah, like I went like 3 months without updating like the podcast on there, and I was like, it's too much anyways. But once I started directing people to other websites, like you said, you can track it all. We use Squarespace, but Kate was using Shopify.
I used Shopify for years, and I love Shopify. They break it down so easy, and it's so user-friendly. That's my favorite platform.
I was real skeptical about Shopify. I thought it was like a cheap version, and it really is, because it was so cheap. I was like, man, I don't know if it's like a reputable company, but it turns out like big brands are using Shopify, like large supplement. Like so when I was sold on it, I realized that BPN uses Shopify. I don't know if you know who BPN is. You know Nick Bear, right? He's on.
I've heard that.
He's a big fitness influencer on Instagram, but he owns BPN Performance, or Bear Performance Nutrition, and it's an Austin company, but it's a pretty big supplement company. And I saw that they use Shopify, so I was like, all right, it's a real deal. So.
It's legit. It's legit. Squarespace, they have the same thing where you can see where people are getting to your site from. Yeah. And it's definitely like, it's pretty obvious that social media is necessary.
Social media is very necessary. But then, you got to do all this. And then I don't know about you guys, but I feel like being your own content creator, you kind of judge what you're putting out there a lot, and you're really hard on yourself. So you're like, is that legible enough? Is that eye-catching enough? Is someone that's scrolling through their feed, are they going to see these words pop out to them versus anything else?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, for sure. Analyzing everything. I overanalyze. Like no one hates me more than I hate myself. Like
heard that.
I hate myself to the max. So everything that I do, is just overly criticized. So yeah, I'm definitely my own worst enemy on that. But I'm like getting to this point where like I don't want to sell the tallow. That sounds weird. Like I don't want to sell it. I do. That's the goal, right? But I want it to be like authentic. I don't want to come off as salesy. So our like latest approach is like just make an informational post about like maybe what's like like today we're gonna post something about like DEET and how DEET is like toxic and like and just like chemicals in general, like what they do to our endocrine system or our hormones and all that stuff. And that I think that stuff is good, like informational stuff, which eventually will lead to a sell probably. But I would rather approach it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're the same way. Like we are not salespeople at all, and it's really hard to go from not being a salesperson to relying on yourself to sell shit to earn a living.
For sure, man.
Stuff, yeah. Because even like Kate's clothing store online, like she never needed to make a sale. It was fun, and she had a lot of fun.
But that's the best way to do it, because as soon as you put pressure on it, that's kind of when it starts to collapse.
And you feel like you're pushing people.
Yeah,
and that sucks.
And that sucks. Like I feel like as soon as I put the pressure on anything, like, oh, I need it to do all these things, then all of a sudden creativity is out the window. All of a sudden, like my manifesting power is out the window. All of a sudden, the exact opposite thing is happening, and you're stressed out and you're making yourself sick, whether you give yourself a headache or you need to lay down or like whatever it is. And now you're down. So now you're losing hours.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, you're like, so now I last like, who knows, maybe like a half day because I was stressing out about what this needed to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. So y'all have a lot going on. So you're recently, I guess not recently, but you're pregnant, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm like halfway through. I'm 20 weeks now. Yeah.
Due in December.
Y'all kept that like on the wraps for a while, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we didn't know.
Oh, you didn't know? Oh, dang.
There was like, I was feeling really bloated, and I like kept saying like, hey, I'm feeling really bloated. Like, and Trenton just kept going, well, you're probably really stressed. We just opened the studio. You're working out a lot. Maybe your abs are just really swollen because you're working out a lot.
She kept going like, I feel like my ab line is disappearing.
I felt like it was disappearing. Oh. And then I was getting really angry because I'm like, man, I'm working out 2-3 times a day now. Like, and I know that, inflammation happens, right? So I was going along with it, and I was eating more because I was working out more. Little I know, I was like 12 weeks pregnant. So like,
that's wild.
That's why.
That's so awesome. So do y'all know if it's a boy or a girl yet?
Nah, we find out in a couple.
Monday. Yeah, okay. We find out Monday.
What are y'all hoping for?
Oh, boy, for sure. Yeah.
I don't care.
No. That's awesome. So it's all that routine and stuff. Like you took your own book.
That's right. Yeah.
All your advice from your own book, and you got that testosterone going, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was, I should have added that as a disclaimer. Like, if you do all these practices in the book, you're going to be pretty potent.
Be like safe sex.
Safe sex.
Safe sex.
Yeah. Yeah, that pull-out game's got to be spot on because,
Dude, I'm amazed at you put out your first book, and I feel like within a few months you already had like the second book. It was pretty quick, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it probably could have been released sooner. If I'm being honest, I have 2-3 other books that could be released before the end of the year, but I probably won't release them. There's one I might release this fall. But I probably won't release the other ones. I enjoy writing. It's pretty therapeutic for me. And the Rewilding the Modern Man book I started writing that before I was done with Awakening the Tranquil Warriors. So it was like 3/4 of the way done. And then like when you finalize a book, like the book is done, and then there's so much editing and like Kate knows because she like helped with a ton of that. Like the creating of the book itself, like you have 30,000 words put together, but you still there's so much more work to be done.
I think the hardest thing was creating the cover.
Yeah.
Really?
Like he left that up to me. Like again, it was like,
yeah.
And it was just like, hey, create the cover. Even like the second book, like technically created the cover, but I had to size it up to everything on the website. And I'm not really, I've become techie because of lack of wanting to pay somebody to be techie.
Yes, understood.
So it's like, it's not like it's definitely a brand new thing. So anyways, so like sizing those covers to exactly what those websites want in the exact definition, like you could submit something and you think it's perfect. You're like, this is awesome. This is perfect. They email you like 2 weeks later and say, yeah, that's shit. You got to start over. And you're like,
yeah, because they take forever to respond. So yeah, you spend hours or days submitting a file, and then they have to review it to make sure it's legit. And then yeah, like 2 weeks later,
it takes forever, and then you're back at the start.
Oh my god, that sounds like a nightmare.
It kind of, that part's annoying. Like, I urge anybody who has an idea to write a book, like, write it for sure.
And then reach out to a publisher.
Yeah, but definitely get some help. If you have the finances to have someone help you do it, then do that.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. That's so cool. Like, the whole process. I when my head, when I think about my timeline throughout the day, like the only time I could probably write is when the kids are asleep, like in the morning or at night. So when did you do all your writing? Is it like around those times?
Yeah, those times.
Yeah. Damn,
it was when I was working like full time in oil and gas. I would do a ton of like, whenever I had an idea, and I still do this now. Like, if I have an idea, I pull my phone out and I like put it in my notes. Or if I'm listening to a podcast or listening to an Audible book, or if I happen to have a moment to pick up a physical book and read it, then I'll jot down notes like for whatever topic I'm doing at the same time. And sometimes I'll just send it in a message to Kate, because I'll just be like, hey, don't let me forget this. This was really cool. I just learned this or whatever. But yeah, and there's like there's note papers all over the fucking house that have like, because we both do it, we just jot shit down like all over the place.
Well, you get it, you have kids and you're running businesses and you have a wife, like you're just like, holy shit, I need to get this out now or I'm not gonna remember it.
Yeah. Yep. I do the same thing with Kelly too. I send her like a random text of something, like just like a half-baked idea, and then she's like, oh, is this one of your notes? I'm like, yep. it's like 4 or 5 words that I just need to jog my memory, you know what I mean? So we get all these texts from each other, so that's good shit right there.
We even do it on Instagram. Like we send, I don't know if you guys do this, but we pass videos all the time to each other through Instagram. Like we'll send them and like sometimes I'll send like 4 or 5 in a row, because you'll be going through your feed and you're like, oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. And you're blowing your significant other up that's like on the couch with you. So you're like, hey, check those out.
I know. Those color schemes that y'all have like for the book and for the gym, like those are legit colors. It's unique. Like that's not like normal gym color, the black, the white. Like it looks good. The post that y'all made, I think it was this week. I forget what it was about, but it was like an informational post. There was like 3 slides. I forget what it was about.
Yeah.
But those color schemes are just beautiful. I'm just like,
our whole house is that color, man.
It followed us our whole life. Really? Like people ask about those colors, and I really was just like, well, first we bought our weight set, and that was the very first thing we bought was that dumbbell set, and the dumbbell set was orange and blue. So then we just carried it on from that point. But like, to be completely honest, it's like, it's all through everything. We even wear the colors all the time. We don't do it on purpose. Like our Stanleys that we have sitting here right now are orange and blue. Like and it's just the colors we picked. Like
That's awesome.
It just happens.
It's just a weird thing, Trenton keeps telling me about like the really cool thing you're doing with the video, like to go around with all the farms, the regenerative farms. That's so cool.
Yeah, I want to talk about the documentary for sure. Have you called Mr. Sean Grace yet from North Star Bison?
No, I thought you gave him my number, or did you give me?
Oh, you're right, I did. See, there's another one of them notes, dude. Okay. I'll send you his number after this. Okay.
He's really cool.
Is he dope? His Instagram is legit. He seems cool.
He's like really, we've been buying from them for so long, but never like got to obviously speak to anybody, because you buy from brands all the time and you don't get to speak to the owners. Yeah,
what they do, I think you'd be really interested in this part. One of the coolest things, and the podcast we do with him, I think releases on the 3rd of August, and he talks about it, but they do their field harvest This is like, no one else does this. I don't know if you've heard it, but they basically snipe the bison. And so there's no, like, the hormones that get pumped into the meat from, hustling them into cattle and then, driving them up to the butcher and, like, that whole thing. Yeah. Like, even though it's USDA considered humane, like, yeah, the way they do it at North Star is they drop
straight
them,
up, like, truly hunt them
with a copper bullet, straight to the brain.
Damn.
Yeah,
they really think about it. Yeah,
they go the whole way, man. Like, they've been around. They were the first ones to sell meat online. The very first ones
in, like,
to 1999. Yeah, 1999.
Oh, really? Oh, damn. Yeah, so he's really an OG, dude.
Yeah, for real OG. His parents started the farm, and I think he took it over in 94, or maybe I think they started in 94, and then he took it over recently. But yeah, dude, it's legit.
I think you'll connect well.
Yeah, I think you'll like him, dude. He's good, dude.
I'm excited, dude. Anything with bison, dude, I love. Those are, like, I wouldn't call it my spirit animal, but I've become obsessed with bison. So
maybe it is. I could see it.
I was just gonna say that too. I was gonna say I can see it. Maybe. After you say it, you can see it.
Yeah, I like bison. The ranch I went to in Fredericksburg, Texas, they do bison. So it's
what one was that? Was that Rome Ranch?
Rome Ranch, yeah. So they have the Forces of Nature meat that they sell online, and they're pretty legit, dude. It's like a legit operation out there. So I'm excited. Yeah, more. I want to get another place for the documentary, another bison place, because those are just the majestic animals, and they're so beautiful. I still want, like, this. I'm picturing, like, this amazing shot of, like, it being foggy and, like, it's kind of dark. And the bison blow, and that's like the mist coming. Like, we couldn't get that shot because it's so fucking hot in Texas. But I want to.
Well, he's in northern he's in northern Wisconsin. So if you said you might be making trip up this fall, so like it's parallel to where I'm from in northern Michigan. So, like, it'll be cold this fall. You'll get the cold mornings. You'll get that.
That'll be dope, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you his number, man. I made a note here on one of our random pieces of paper with a pen on it. So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited. Yeah, no, it's a fun. So I talked to. I had this grand vision of doing this documentary and, like, getting it done this year, and then putting it out on the film festival markets in 2024. But after talking with, I'm a name dropper, but Jane Buxton. Have you read her book?
Yeah, she's phenomenal. Dude, she's phenomenal.
That book was amazing, dude. I was, like, my favorite book. I had to read chapters over and over again because she's so smart and I'm an idiot. So I was, like, having to consume her stuff. But she, like, when I was talking to her about it, and she's going to be on the documentary too.
Yeah, that's what you were saying, that she was kind of guiding a little bit.
Yeah, man. So I didn't want to ask her because so we ended up doing a podcast, and the podcast I think only lasted like 30 minutes, but we met for over an hour, and we ended up talking about the documentary more than the book. So she seemed interested, but she was also talking about how she was on another documentary, like, kind of related to it. So I was like, I don't want to ask her about it. But then a couple of weeks passed, or a month and passed, and I was like, man, I just want her to be part of it. Like, it feels, every time I go to, like when I went to Rome Ranch, I ended up talking about her, and I was like, it just feels right to ask her. So I asked her, and she was like all for it, man. She's like, heck yeah, I want to be part of it. So, like, some of her guidance initially was why are you going so fast? Like, that was her first question. She's like, it took me 3 years to write the book. Why do you want to do this so fast? And I was like, I don't know. That's a good question. Cause I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I just, like, I'm a mouse on this little pedal and I just want to go really quick. And she's like, you don't have to. So that was kind of and it kind of relieved a lot of stress off my shoulders too. Cause I felt like I was racing against something, but I really wasn't. I guess racing against myself. So that was, like, the first thing she told me to do was, like, slow down, take your time with it, and really enjoy the process of creating it. So that's kind of what I did.
Are you enjoying it for now then, since you slowed down a little bit?
Yeah, I don't feel so, like, there's no one, like, holding me to a release date or anything like that. So I don't know why I had that thought initially. That's just, like, my personality, I guess. But I am enjoying the process, like being a little bit more thoughtful, planning out with the videographers before we go, and really taking our time and not being afraid of to have to go back to a location to shoot. So we've done 3 locations so far. We're doing another one. We do like 1 or 2 a month, basically. So we got like 14 or 15 spots that we need to visit. And then, yeah, so it's a lot. And then I kind of came up with this idea like through the nonprofit. So on 3 locations that we visited so far, we got over like 10, 12 hours of footage. Of like these land experts talking about how to transition away from conventional farming to a regenerative practice, or whatever title you want to call it, whether it's regenerative or holistic land management, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, man, all this stuff is going to get just wasted because the documentaries are going to be a little bit over an hour. So I kind of been playing with the idea of like providing free training content for farmers and ranchers that want to go learn about it, because that's the biggest hurdle, is these conferences for regenerative land management and to learn about these practices are very expensive. Farmers don't have the funds, and sometimes they just don't have the freaking time. They can't go to a conference for a week to learn about, land management, about regenerative practices. So through the documentary and the nonprofit, I want to provide training content from all these experts, and all the experts that teach the conferences are going to be at the documentary. Like, why not use the footage to do something else with it? So that's kind of, I'm almost getting like more excited about that than the documentary itself, but it'll come, man. So
I could see it being like a series too. I could see a series.
Yeah. You know, we talked about that too. Cause it's like, there's so much that we want to tackle, like regenerative, like the climate, and then like the animal treatment, but there's also this cultural aspect in land management. That's the device that we talked about last time. That's a big topic amongst landowners and soil experts, like that. It's a larger topic, and I thought it would be. Everyone's kind of afraid to talk about it. But yeah, I could kind of see it turning into like a series a little bit. Like, so
and then there's the nutritional aspect of it. I mean, you could go deep, man. Yeah. When you get a chance to talk to that Sean Grace, ask him about his experience nutritionally, because his transformation going animal based off of his regenerative products is unrivaled. Really? I mean, it's incredible. I'll send you some pictures that he sent me. Like, he put on like 20 pounds of muscle, like really leaned out. Like,
he said within 5 months,
8 months, but still, I mean, like
20 pounds of muscle in 8 months
is
like, that's a lot.
That's damn bison, man.
Right. Yeah. Right. What did you say? Like, bison have 40,000 nutrients in them.
Yeah.
Dude.
40,000. Isn't that insane? Like, that's almost, it sounds almost make believe. Like, when you try to wrap your head around it, you're like, wait, did you mess up a number? You meant like 400.
Yeah. Whenever I ate bison for the first time, I felt like, I don't know if it was placebo or what it was, but I for sure felt a little different. And that, even if I eat elk meat, something that's like from an animal that's like really athletic or something, I feel different for sure than just eating regular cows or beef, you know? Yeah.
I think it is so much of it, if you think about it on an energetic level, when you're consuming another animal, like, you are partially, like, that animal's energy is still obviously in their meat that you're eating. So, like, the animal that you're eating, like when you're consuming like a docile, kind of like chill cow, you know what I mean? When you think about it like that, it makes so much sense, right? Like, and you think of a robust bison that's like beautiful and has this thick hair and it's just like, it's beautiful when you're consuming part of that animal. So like, why wouldn't you feel similar energetically to that animal?
Yeah, they're so powerful. Just these massive beasts. I was a lifeguard for a quick minute after high school in northern Michigan, and there was a bison farm right next to it. Was at a Great Wolf Lodge, so I wasn't like a real lifeguard. I was like watching kids play in the water.
Not like a Baywatch.
Yeah, it wasn't like a Baywatch.
Just flexing your abs out there all the
time. Yeah, watching toddlers in the kids.
No, he's like yelling at him not to pee in the pool.
Yeah, more of that. Please don't. Please don't shit in the pool. This is a horrible situation. I've been there. But to the point, there was a bison farm down the hill. And so when the bison would get out, like it would take, they would tell you to like stay, you know, they would come up to vehicles and they would like flip vehicles over. Yeah. Just not being aggressive, just like rubbing their fucking backs against
trying
it.
To itch.
Yeah. Just trying to itch. They'd be flipping vehicles over in the parking lot. And so it would take like, you know, 30, 40 people normally on golf carts or four-wheelers to try to guide them back, because they weren't aggressive, but they're just such powerful beasts that just them walking through a parking lot, like it's dangerous.
I bet the bison up north are bigger than the ones that I saw down here in Texas.
I don't know. There people are doing a lot of what do they call it? A beefalo. It's like a cross between a cow and a buffalo.
What does that look like?
It's a smaller bison.
Still long hair?
A little, yeah. A lot of people are doing them in northern Michigan. I'm not really sure what the reason is behind it, but the beefalo is becoming
maybe more tame. Probably cheaper too.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, because you're not mating two bisons, you're mating a cow and a bison.
Yeah. Taylor at Roan Ranch was saying that the heat, like over time, they've gotten smaller. Like animals, like the deer in Texas are smaller than the deer up north because of the heat. They need less light. Like they just have morphed into a smaller animal.
What's that? There's a theory. I forget what it's called. Like Bohr's or Bergman's. I think it's called Bergman's theory or Bergman's law, rather. Yeah, mammals in particular, the colder the environment, the larger they get. And that's for all mammals. And it's about surface area, because the more surface area an animal has, the better ability they have to stay cool, or to stay warm, rather. And so I could definitely see that, an animal adapting to get a little bit smaller, like in southern Texas. That's supposed to be a northern, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. So how far is this place from y'all again?
So North Star is probably... From us, I'd say every bit of 8-10 hours, probably.
Yeah, we heard about North Star bison. Right when we were it was right after I got certified in holistic nutrition, and Trenton was listening to a lot of podcasts. And so this was probably like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was listening to Ben Greenfield. Do you know who Ben Greenfield is? Yeah, he was listening to Ben Greenfield podcast. And at that time, Ben Greenfield talked us into so many things through this podcast. Like, he talked us through, like, we still use trace minerals. Those were on there. Yep. Like, we still use red light, the Juve, like, North Star was one that he had mentioned. I don't know if he interviewed him or not, but I remember him mentioning them, and then we were immediately like, oh, who's North Star bison? And Googled it, and then just had been using them since.
That's freaking great.
They're good. It's hard to find a lot of like specific organs online.
Yeah.
And through it, especially regenerative, like there's a couple places that I used to be able to order like testicles and, you know, some other strange organs from, but they were grass-fed and finished. They weren't regenerative, you know.
Force of Nature is like, because we order Force of Nature too for our ground blends.
Yep.
And they are starting to sell more organs. Like I've seen tongue on, not that I eat the tongue, but I have seen tongue on there.
Yeah.
And other ones.
They have a lot. Like they have pancreas, thymus gland, adrenal gland.
Oh,
like,
damn.
Yeah, try an adrenal gland. It's small. But
you'll feel like you're straight up on drugs.
Yeah, dude. Like you want a pre-workout? Yeah, you want a pre-workout?
Like speed.
And an adrenal gland.
Oh yeah. God. From a bison? Holy shit, dude.
Oh, dude, it's insane. Yeah, it's a small organ.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, but it's worth it, man. They got a lot of good shit. The pancreas is good. They got spleen. I mean,
there's just one. Was it the kidney that really smells like?
The bison kidney's tough.
It's really tough. Especially when you smell it cooking.
Oh yeah.
I don't really go outside the realm unless it's in a blend of like eating heart or liver. And those two are like my limit to like visually see them and eat them.
Yeah.
But Trenton was cooking kidney cubed up like a couple years ago.
Bison kidney, yeah.
It smelled like like there was a sewer leak like in our house. Like I was like, what the hell are you cooking? Like shut that off.
Have you eaten kidney before?
No, I haven't. I don't know if I want to now.
No, if it's in a blend, you're probably fine. But
yeah. It's really like rabbit kidney is good. They're tiny. Those are good. The rabbit kidney is good because you don't taste as much of it, but
because it's smaller.
Because it's smaller, yeah. But the bison kidney, like any large animal kidney, dude, it's good for you, but it tastes a little like urine. Yeah, it's a little tough.
Do you are we just so immersed into this like culture of eating animal based that that's all we see, or do you think like the rest of society is starting to wake up to eating like even just like raw liver or eating like an animal based diet? Do you feel like it's like expanding more?
Yeah.
You think so?
I do feel like it's expanding more. I feel like the tabooness of talking about what you eat has kind of worn off a little bit. Like for a minute, it was a really hot topic. Like I feel like when you talked about it sounds so stupid. Like I could only imagine telling my grandmother this, like that you could not talk about your diet to somebody else. Like
it
offended them. Yeah, in some way. And I would even get weird because I post recipes all the time. Like what I would wonder, like, oh, I do know some of my friends' diets are completely different. Are they going to get offended that I use like butter or bone marrow? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how I can like, I feel like I'm literally connecting with my grandmother, and she's like, "What the hell?" Like, but, like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But for a minute, it felt like religion. It felt like politics. Like you couldn't express what you were eating, and that is such a weird dynamic.
For sure.
Yeah.
110%. I even things like simple like butter, like people are starting to realize that butter is healthy for you. It's better than margarine. Like it's even like cooking with tallow. It's interesting at farmers markets. Our generation, they know what tallow is, and as soon as they come up, they're like, I'm sold. But my parent, like the generation of like our parents, I would think I automatically thought like they would know, like, oh yeah, my grandma, but they don't. It's like the generation before them, like our grandparents, they knew. But it's interesting to see that this younger generation, even like we've had kids like that are 13, 14 years old that are like just buy it up because they're sick of getting skincare stuff from the store, conventional skincare stuff. So it's it's interesting to see like the transition away from conventional wisdom, I guess. It's pretty cool to see.
We just talked about that.
It's really funny because our parents, I feel like, talk about Crisco, right? Like they're talking about a vegetable shortening. They're talking about like, vegetable oil, peanut oil, like that's like their thing. And then I'm like, you guys still use that shit?
I know.
Like, what are you doing? I love the tallow products for skin. They're so nice. I think what you guys are doing is so like profound, and I think some of the beginning of the movers for that. Like, and it is, my skin is so different when I use tallow than any other product I've used.
It's kind of weird. It's almost like fake. When we were using it, like before we started selling it, we would use it on our kids and they would get bug bites and stuff. And it like drastically reduced the redness, rashes, sunburn and stuff. And we were like, is this like just us? And then we started giving it to our friends, and our friends like, like what really sold me is one time my friend broke out in a hives rash on her neck. It was like pretty thick, like kind of sketchy hives. I was like, is that hives or what the hell is that? But she rubbed tallow on, and within 30 minutes it was gone. Like it legitimately just gone. And I was like, okay, maybe we should like do this. Like,
right.
Like make this a thing. So I always tell people like, we're not like inventors. Like we didn't like invent the wheel of tallow, or we're just like trying to reintroduce people back to it. Just to like, I like my goal for it is to teach people how to make it. And if they can't make it, then buy local from someone from them that is making it. And if they can't do that, then we're here. Like we can sell it to you. So I would rather have someone like buy it, render it themselves, and then do that for them, their families. But if they can't, then we want to provide a service for that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, you guys do that whole process, so it's not like a super fast and easy process.
It
Like
takes a while.
it takes some effort,
Right.
but it's like you were saying, like with our generation before, like to kind of go back to that, like I feel like that generation was really robbed of ancestral knowledge. Like it was ripped straight from them because the world of corporate America like took over.
That's when like, the TV got big, commercials, radio commercials, or like magazines, like that was huge.
And all pushed by corporations that wanted you to buy new products that cost very little money.
They started not slaving out, I shouldn't say that, but they started making both parents work. Like there wasn't like, whether it was the male or the female, whoever it was, like they weren't ever able to be home to do these things. So they needed quick, they needed convenient, they needed cheap, and they needed it now.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's when like the food pyramid came out and everyone was following the food pyramid. That was the gospel.
Yeah, because I don't think they knew that they should distrust those people.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought that our government officials were trying to kill us?
Right. Yeah, for sure. And then when you say that, like, talking to my parents about that kind of stuff, it gets nowhere. And I've kind of accepted that there's just some people that you're not going to win with. And I'd rather have a loving relationship and just accept wherever they're living and whatever they're doing rather than trying to convince them. Because when I started learning, like I'm a very like, if I learn something, I want to like share that with people. You know what I mean? And I don't want it, I don't mean for it to come off as like arrogance or anything like that, but I'm like so excited that I'm like, oh, this, like I did this, I integrated this like butter in my life and it's like helped me do this. And I want to share that with people, but sometimes I can come off as being pushy or trying to change the way people live. So I'm trying to slowly like pull that back and just shut up, basically.
It's so hard. It is so hard. Yeah. Like we talk about it all the time with parents. Like you can like, I think Trenton told me Paul Saladino mentioned something about his parents in a podcast. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, even Paul Saladino's like doing it with his parents, right? Like, and with his supplement company with organs. So it didn't make me feel so bad. But like, I remember like initially, like you said, when you first find out, you're like, holy shit, I got the information. I can help you. Yeah. Like, here it is. Like, especially if they're going through something or taking, and have been for a long time, you're like, oh, well, throw that shit out. Like, buy that. You'll be fine. Yeah. Like, but our parents get really offended and like they take it as arrogance from their children. And it's not that we want to come off that way. We're like you said, you're just so excited and you got so much. And then I felt like it caused so many fights and awkwardness, like at birthday parties or holidays.
Yeah.
Everybody looked at you and was like, and then it made it really awkward because they're like, are your kids allowed to have that? Like, like
I know they like purposely make it awkward and say things like, oh, don't bring it out to John. Don't bring it out to John. Like, that's like
so when you have like their family barbecue on 4th of July and they'll be like, hey, Kate, like, are your kids allowed to have Jell-O? Like, I know that you don't like that stuff. And you're like, and you're sitting there with all your family, and now everybody's dead silent staring at you to see if you allow your kids to have Jell-O with the other grandkids.
And they do it in front of the kids.
I know, yeah.
So kids are like,
yeah. I know.
Says you could, like.
It's so awkward. One moment that sticks out for me is we were having a surprise birthday party for somebody. And I think it was my mom, and everyone was eating cake and ice cream, and somehow, like I wasn't even in the group, but somehow like the topic of me eating liver with honey came up. Like, oh, John eats liver with honey and fruit. It came up, so they called me over to the table, and mind you, there's like 10 people at this table. Everyone's eating cake and ice cream, and they said, you're gonna get sick eating liver with honey, blah blah blah. That's gonna, you're gonna get. They were lecturing me, and I let them lecture, and I was like, you realize like you're lecturing me while y'all are eating cake and ice cream right now. Like, do you see like the irony about this right now? And they're like, no. And I was like,
relate to that 100%. They do it to us too. My mom will do it. Like she does it. Like literally at the most random shit. Like she'll be eating like whatever fast food thing or something, and then like she'll be like, Honey, are you I know you said you're like eating organs and stuff, but are you also eating fruit? Like, are you? And I'm like, Mom, do you? Yes, of course, duh.
Yeah.
And then but then the second you're like, do you know the nutrients that's in those organs anyway? And she's like, yeah, but I read you shouldn't be eating stuff like that. Not when you're pregnant. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why are you questioning me? Should I be going to get fast food? Should I be drinking a Diet Coke? Like, what? You know what I mean? But they do that, and they do it to almost embarrass you, like, and like correct you. And I don't know if it comes from a place of insecurity, like while they're eating their food, they're thinking about how you're not eating cake.
Yeah.
So, like, they feel insecure because of that. But we've been in so many fights, and then we just got to the point where we were like, fuck it, give me a piece of cake. I want the smallest piece you got.
Yeah, like, fuck it.
Yep.
It's really funny because, like, I happened to see one of our gym members at a coffee shop like a couple mornings ago, and she didn't. I was waiting for coffees, and they called her name, and she walked past me with like 2 frappuccinos and was like, "Oh fuck!" like I was gonna judge her, and I'm like
punch her in the face.
Yeah, she got like embarrassed about it, and I was gonna slap her out of her hand, like, you can't be eating that. You know better.
She turned around. She's like, "Oh, hey." She's like, "Okay, I know these are really bad for me, but I'm gonna drink them and eat them." And then, like, literally just left.
Yeah, she was.
That's almost like worse too, because it's worse whenever you do have those moments, and you sometimes, like, I will eat a cake, or I will eat a piece, I will eat a cookie. Like, sometimes I want that shit. You know what I mean? And then that's almost worse, because then it's really rubbed in, like, oh fuck, look at John fucking cheat. Look at John, blah blah blah. John's fucking up here. Everybody watch out. I'm like, yeah, I sometimes will indulge on cake and ice cream. Like, but it's not an everyday thing. Like, so.
I know, they're like, let's document. Wait. You said she could have a cookie? Like, you know what I mean?
Like, take a picture.
Yeah.
Look, he's got frosting on his chin. Take a picture. Hurry.
Like, she said yes to the pizza. She said yes.
Yeah. It's sad. So we started taking our own food, like our own ice chest, to my parents. And partly of it is because we just don't, like, we have kids, so we don't want to eat all their food. But also, I just want to eat eggs and meat. Like, I just simple. I don't want to think about food. And it, like, in the Hispanic culture, food is life. Like, it's just like everything comes and centers around food. So the fact that I'm not eating the rice, the beans, the tortillas, I think now it's better, but it definitely drove a stake in, like, the family dinners. Like, it was a thing, and then it's getting better. But yeah, I think you're right. It's like insecurity, but also they feel like you're not a part of the family.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
They feel the disconnect in their family. My dad, kind of similar. My dad is Italian, and he really loves the
communal
aspect of being Italian. So he really pushes that aspect more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because my mom's actually almost like 100% Irish. So, like, she's like she's the one that actually bakes all the Italian cookies for the 7 fishes and everything, but whatever. And so, like, but yeah, my dad loves that aspect, the family core aspect, you know, of that. What becomes like a cult thing. Yeah. And like, so I remember the first time I was like, and I must have caught him on a bad mood. It was like in a winter time, and it was for somebody's birthday, and they always kind of order pizza. Well, not anymore because of me. They order fried chicken because that's better, but whatever. And, like, you know, fruit. and it's because of me, because they told me that. But like, but anyways, they had pizza, and I was like, Dad, I'm good. I'm really good. Like, I was like, the kids, fine, whatever. Because that was almost like I could be like, whatever. Because it took the pressure off of so much separation.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm good, Dad. And he was like, no, you need to eat some pizza. Like, you need to fill your belly. You need to, like, you know, get some food. What are you doing? I bought this food. And, like, I was like, Dad, no, for real. Like, I don't want it. I'm going to feel sluggish. I'm going to feel tired. I got to take care of 3 kids after this and tuck them all in. Like,
right.
I don't want pizza. Anyways, it ended up like a really big thing. And he, like, blew up. And it was like, I mean, it was like disrespecting the family that I didn't take a slice of the pizza. Like, I was alienating myself. I was, like, you know, burning my last name pretty much for not eating the slice of pizza.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you didn't even make the fucking pizza.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you had somebody deliver this fucking pizza, and I didn't know that.
That's hilarious.
Like I'm shaming the family.
Yeah.
And we're in a private setting. We're in your home. Like, it's
Right. It's okay.
Yeah.
How do y'all deal with the kids part of it? Like when y'all go to visit y'all's family, is it? I guess y'all live close to the family though, so there's probably more interactions with the kids and the family.
There is. My mom's gotten a lot better, and she tells me it's because of me. But like,
it took a lot of like
footstepping. There was so at the beginning, it was kind of like, it was very cut and dry. It was like, I packed the diaper bag. That's the food they ate if you watch them. And then I found out they were just sneaking other food anyway when I watched them, because the kids told us.
Right.
And so like, I eventually like had many talks with my mom. And honestly, I think it was when I really started to pursue health and wellness as a mainstay career, and not just, doing it on myself. Like, because when you just do it for yourself, everybody wants to rip you apart so that you can't kind of become better. As horrible as that sounds, it's kind of what it is.
Right.
Because you're growing out of them a little bit. You're moving on, and they don't like that. They don't want it. They love you, so they want to feel that connection to you. And when they start feeling that unfamiliarity of a disconnect of some reason, they want to pull you back in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it really is out of their love, but it's really disharming to you. And it holds you down. So like, there was so many conversations like that. But once I started pursuing it more, my mom would buy the organic gummies and
it's like organic goldfish.
Organic goldfish.
Oh my God.
And like, I just let it go after that. She bought like the organic apple juice, like, and I was like, Mom, it's really not the organic tagline that I'm looking for here. Like, I'm really concerned about the ingredients. Organic's great, but like, if it's still got a fuck ton of sugar in it, but whatever. Yeah. Okay. That was her meeting me distance wise.
Right.
And so I appreciated that. So I wasn't going to be so that's where we're at now. I was kind of like, all right, you came my distance, you saw me, you heard me eventually. And so I will come my distance a little bit too and be like, you know what? I don't expect you to be perfect, but I really do appreciate you actually, looking for things and respecting me in that aspect.
That's beautiful. That almost makes me like tear up a little bit. Cause if you think about like the act that your mom she went and like, oh, I'm going to get organic, because she's been sold her whole life of like organic is good for you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's like, when you look at it from that perspective, and she took extra steps to buy the organic because she thought that you were going to be like, you'd be happy with it. Right. Like, that's pretty sweet. Like, my parents don't really get that sweet, but it's like, as soon as, so we don't live close to our family. My wife's family's from Ohio, and then my family lives in West Texas. So we're not always around them. So whenever we do go around them, it's like my dad's the Cookie Monster. Like, as soon, like literally the minute we walk in the house, it's like they went and stocked up on cookies for the week, because we'll go for a week. So like, it's just like, as soon as we get there, it's like sugar rush time. And that, I would literally be in the worst mood for almost the entire trip, because I would be upset about them feeding my kids cookies. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, most of the time my kids are eating good. 95% of the time I can be like, I guess, relaxed a little bit when we're at grandma's and grandpa's. And I think that's kind of how I've been approaching it. Obviously not perfect, because sometimes I'm like, they had cookies at 9 a.m. They don't need it at lunch and for dinner. You know what I mean? It's like one time a day. So my parents are like good about that, but every now and then, like, they'll sneak cookies, like, when I'm not looking, or if I go run or something, they'll sneak cookies, and then I come back in and they get like chocolate all over their face. So it's like,
you're like, what the fuck?
And then you're like, I kind of got to a point where I was like, well, I don't want them to develop this relationship with food where like they are now hiding like the ice cream or from me that grandma's giving to, because then that's weird. No one wants that. So like you said, and so then you have to, much like what you did is what we did, because we would spend so much energy like being so pissed and irritated. And you're like, this is ruining the whole trip and my relationship with, like, you know, the people that gave me life.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So, but yeah, I think you just gotta
pick your battles.
Pick your battle.
Same. Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
That's what we figure too. Like if when they're at home, the diet's good, you know, they're getting their 2 servings.
And we're super strict on them at home. And so like you guys, like you're really like on it. You're like, hey, nothing in this house is gonna, you know. And then when you go buck wild at grandma's and I have to sober you back up and
like, for sure. It's a detoxing period.
Seriously.
They're different children, right? Like, do you notice it's like from when they're at your house and they're eating differently to where when they're at grandma's and grandpa's, like the mental breakdowns, the hysterias, the drama, the lethargicness, like
it's a real thing. Well, even like comparing like you don't want to compare, but like noticing the differences between like how your kids act versus how other people's kids act. You know what I mean? I think a lot of it has to do with diet, man. And I don't
100%. I see it all the time, and you don't want to, especially with kids. I guess you're not necessarily judging the kids. You're just actually taking note and being mindful of how they're different. But then you're kind of like, I want to tell the parents, like, I think I know why their kids are having those hysterical breakdowns or being so crazy and like combative. I mean, our kids, I'm sure you could agree, they're definitely not perfect, but they're definitely, there's a big difference. There's a really big difference in diet. I mean, even with yourself, right? Like, like you said, you're primarily like meat and eggs and a little bit of fruit. Now, like when you go off that diet and it's like you're eating, just say like you have like a bowl of oats with honey and you're like eating all this food, like you're like, your temper's like, bang. Like you don't take anything to get ignited. You had sugar, you had like, you're super irritated, maybe overstimulated.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. My anxiety's through the roof. And that's one of the reasons I think I started like this animal-based journey. I started with keto and then it went animal-based, but it was because I was battling like really weird, bad anxiety. Like I developed twitches all over my body at one point. Like my muscles were twitching. I thought it was like ALS at one point. I convinced myself it was ALS because it was just like on an arm, and then it went to my leg, and it was like all day. And it was like related to like my habits. It wasn't just food. It was like my sleeping habits, my exercise habits. It was all of it. It's like a little bit of everything. And then once I realized, oh, like I shouldn't be drinking frappuccinos. Like now I drink cold brew with heavy cream. Not perfect, but it's not like the frappuccino. You know what I mean? I think that plays a big role in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
100%.
so much. I noticed such a difference. Like I even like, not to like really, you know, make anybody mad, but Trenton and I were joking around. So our one rabbit keeps getting loose and out of its like little rabbit hutch, and like they're strong as fuck and they're fast as fuck, like more than any other rabbit.
But they're not supposed to be. They're the fuzzy cute ones.
They're the
look
fuzzy
like
And we don't feed them rabbit pellets because we just give them all our scraps, like and organic fresh vegetables. And I was like, Trenton, it's because of that fucking food. I was like, we should be feeding them grain, like, you know, so that they're like
oh yeah,
like, we need to be Kellogging them, make them vegan and
that grain.
Hell yeah,
so that they're docile and not so combative and strong.
That's true. You're feeding them freaking steroids with the food you're feeding them with.
Seriously, right? And it's just our table scraps, but like you don't realize, like, even in your animals, like the difference in your animals. And like when you say something like that, you're like, oh no shit, when people consume so much grain, and grain brain's real and grain body's real, like that's too much for the body.
Have you read that book yet by Max Lugavere?
Grain Brain?
I think it's called Grain Brain.
I think I've seen it, but I haven't read it. No.
It's a little old now at this point, but that's a great book. It talks about all that, like the actual response, like in your brain to grain it's very obvious, and it's been known for a long fucking time now. Even with it at the bulk of our food pyramid, it's still been known that the inflammation it causes in your gut, the way it responds hormonally in your brain, like making you tired and just legitimately giving you brain fog, like as soon as you start to digest
you start to notice it with your dang rabbits. You're like, man, this is real.
It's hard to tell people about those symptoms whenever they're eating it. Like my parents, I can go back to that. Like when my dad's like, oh, my body hurts. And I'm aching. I'm like, well, you fuck, man. You just ate like a bowl of cereal, and it's tough, man. Diet's tough.
It is tough because like our parents are at that age where they're experiencing this inflammation in their bodies, and they're like, oh, it's old age, it's yada yada yada, and you're like, it doesn't have to be like that. And I almost feel like they get pissed off. Like, well, I know they do. Like they get irritated if you ever share a story about somebody else, like. There's this 75-year-old man that's scaling buildings and, doing all crazy shit. And then your parents are like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like totally out of it. And it's so submissive of that because they don't think it's a possibility for them. And I think that dude's just some random superhuman, and he's not. Like, and especially when they're having inflammation and feeling shitty. Like, my mom has a lot of knee issues. And she owns a bakery, so she does stand a lot. And so I could see that, but also she is open to supplements. She will supplement. And that's kind of a generation that is into that, right? Like the vitamins.
Yeah. Yep.
They're open to vitamins and supplements, but like not the food.
That's so wild. The vitamins. I forgot. I haven't heard anyone say vitamins in a while. Do y'all do y'all give y'all's kids vitamins?
No, we did for like a quick minute, and then with those Nordic gummies.
Yeah.
And then I kind of thought, I had this random thought the one day. I was like, isn't it a lot for like their little like livers and like kidneys to be processing all those vitamins at such a young age at one time?
Yeah.
And then I was kind of like, that's kind of, because we were giving them to like 3, like when they suggest, and I was like, I don't know. I just feel like that's a lot for the body to be processing like artificial, like not really soluble vitamins. And then I just stopped.
Do y'all give, and then this might be too personal for y'all, but do y'all give y'all's kids shots? Do y'all give them shots?
Very little.
Very limited. Very limited. We're very specific. We are.
And as we've like learned more and more on that topic, that has become less and less.
Yeah.
There's some obviously that like we feel comfortable with, but there's a lot of them that
at first though with Maylin, our like oldest, I like wasn't aware of any of that. And so like it was like totally like okay, cool, like, do what you gotta do. And Trenton was questioning it. And like I was like, well, this is what they have to do. This is, as the mom, you're kind of brainwashed to think like, this is what I have to do. This is what they told me to do. This is what every mom does, right? This is what my mom did. Like, and Trenton was the one kind of giving pushback, like asking, hey, what's in that? Hey, why do they need that? Like, what is that one? Like, why are you giving them 4 shots at one time when they're 3 months old? Like,
yeah, it's uncomfortable, man. Like, but if you don't know, you don't know. And like, I, unfortunately and fortunately at the same time, I had read a lot of books that had pointed to all the evidence that proved how bad that was, and specifically for young girls, because a woman's immune system, even as a child, is different than a male's. The response, and that a lot of women, well, all women, the response is quicker and more just, where a male's body responds a little bit slower to, and depending on what they're being shot with, the body responds. It has to. That's the whole purpose of the shot, is to force a response. But when they do like so many at one time, man,
so
I was
hard.
like,
And it feels like they just add on and add on and add on.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that's when we started getting, I mean, maybe like are you guys into like specific about it too, or just completely no?
So I finally have talked Kelly and made her listen to enough podcasts where I think we're going to definitely stop. But yeah, up until this point, they've gotten like their shots. But I think moving forward, it's going to look a lot different. The schedule and what we're going to do. Like I'm for like not doing it at all anymore. Like nothing. I'm for nothing. I think it's okay. I sound stupid. I probably sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think I think I'm okay going no more shots for them at all.
I agree with that. I honestly, man, like
I could see it too. Like when I remember the first time I heard somebody said that they weren't doing it, and I was so illiterate that I was like, whoa, like you shouldn't do, you know, like on the opposite side of it. And then I'm after so much, and then I feel like for us the breaking was kind of like the abundance of them. Like you were hit with them all the time. Like maybe if it had been more minor, we would never even would have thought about it.
Yeah.
But it was like when it was getting more, and more every 6 months, this booster, that booster, you know, you were kind of like, whoa.
I know. Yeah. It was eye-opening. COVID actually hit perfectly because we didn't go to the doctor a whole lot. So we missed a lot of their shots during COVID. So it kind of happened perfectly, but then after it, and then they like needed to catch up supposedly. And I was like, nah, I'm not about this. Like, it doesn't feel natural. Like, it doesn't feel good. Like the energy of like going into the room and like, I'm going to just, the whole thing doesn't feel right. You know,
it's so tough when they're young,
when they're
kids
infants,
too, like,
and you're like holding them down. I remember kissing their little heads, like, you know, like, and they're,
and they don't understand. It's like they're being tortured.
It always, I totally agree with the energy. Like you walking in, the doctor's energy, the lady that comes in and does its energy, the whole dang thing feels weird. And then it gets changed a little bit when they give them a pretzel stick and it's bigger. But like,
you have to like bribe them. But now, like, you know, my kids are 4. So now when we like say we're going to the doctor or something, or go near the offices, they know like what it looks like, and they're like, well, are we getting a shot? Are we doing a shot? Like, it's like we've like scarred them for life almost already. So it's like,
well, I mean, it's traumatizing for a child.
Oh, my sister, she would be the worst. My mom would dread taking her. She would like, I remember one time, like 4 doctors, she was like 12. So like hold her down. And then you're like, holy shit, why are we doing this? Like this child is like being held down by like 2 men and 2 women to get this, like, shot. You know, whatever. I don't even know what it was, but like. And
then you see the research on it and you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I think, like you mentioned about COVID, I think COVID woke a lot of people up to that idea, and they were like, well, that is a little strange. You know, let's dive into this a little bit. And when you do, it's like, it immediately makes sense. And you're like, okay, yeah, so that is, you know, I mean, to each their own, like, you know, honestly.
I get it. I get it on all fences, because
we do a lot of crazy shit.
We do a lot.
Some people think it's crazy. Right?
You know, right? Like, you for an organ. Like, they look at you like you're like a cannibalist or something, and you're like, what? Like,
why would you eat liver when you can go have Sonic or, you know, Burger King? Like,
right? Like, you know, I totally agree too. Like, to each their own, and like, as long as the parent is doing it out of love and not fear. Who's there to judge at that point? Because your kids and my kids, as long as we're doing everything we can for our kids out of love, like, and we're not letting somebody else make the decision for us, that's all we can do, right?
Yeah. And the more, like, I feel like the amount of information that's available today, like, when I was a kid, like, I had to believe my mom. My mom, like, I asked her a question, my mom fucking pulled an answer out of her ass, and like, I had to believe it. But now, like my kids, like my daughter 12 and my oldest daughter is 14, like, the amount of information that's available to them in their hands and how much they know about random, like, shit about the environment. I'm like, man, these kids they're getting really smart. You know what I mean? And
the power.
Power of technology, man. Power of knowledge, really. So
yeah, that's a cool world to grow up in, like, to have all that at your fingertips. Like, you can just search whatever the fuck you want whenever you want. Like, oh, what kind of bird is that? Oh, well, I'll type it in. It's yellow and whatever, and now you know. But you don't just know what type of bird it is. You know it's migratory fucking travel. You know how many babies it has a year. Like, what genus it's in.
Have y'all fucked around with Google Lens?
What's that one?
Oh my god, what kind of phones do y'all have?
iPhones.
iPhone.
Yeah.
So if you download the Google app, not Chrome, but like the Google app, you can use Google Lens. So you can take a picture of a flower, and it uses AI technology to tell you like what kind of flower it is, or what kind of tree it is. Like you can use it on bugs, like whatever, and it'll tell you what kind of bug it is. It's pretty.
No shit.
Super cool.
Yeah, I could, man. When I was a kid, I'd have been doing that, like fucking.
I know. My daughter's the one that told me about it. Like I was like, I think that's a tree, and she took a picture of it. She goes, well, actually, it's a red blah 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 tree, and I was like, what the fuck? These kids.
She's like, it's a Joshua tree, and it's not a tree at all.
I know, man. Kids are smart.
Oh, that's cool. Google Lens. I'll have to check
Yeah,
that out.
check that. That sounds fun.
There's some weeds growing in the garden that I want to know what they are, so I can figure out how to get rid of them forever.
I know. That's my next thing I want to learn. I want to learn about like the mushrooms, like what mushrooms are good, what mushrooms are bad for, because there's some like you supposedly don't want to kill in your yard. You should let them stay. I don't know. To me, a mushroom's a mushroom.
I'm not real. Yeah, like I just know the benefits of like, the 5 main, like your over the counter mushrooms, like your lion's mane, your like the big like reishi.
Have you seen that? Sorry, have you seen that podcast with Joe Rogan and Paul Stamets?
Probably. I'm a Joe Rogan fanatic, so
so Paul Stamets is one that he wears that crazy leather hat. He's got big glasses. He's the mushroom guy.
Maybe,
but he was talking about portobellas, and like that's a mushroom that we eat pretty common in the States. He was talking about how like eating that thing raw, eating a portobello raw is extremely bad for you. Look it up next time you're like, look up video clips of it, because like
he could only go so deep.
Yeah, he was like, I can't really talk about how bad it is for you because people, they don't want me to talk about this. Like, yeah, it's pretty deep, but he's like, if you're going to eat a portobello, you better cook the fuck out of it, basically.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to hurt you. Yeah.
What does it do to you though?
He wouldn't go into it, man. That's what I'm saying. Shit. Like, he gives Joe Rogan like this fucking stare, and he's like,
and he's a pretty wild dude too. Yeah. Like he's wild looking. So
he's like, I can't elaborate. And Joe Rogan like asks again, and he's like,
Fantastic Fungi.
Yeah, there's documentary.
Yeah, documentary. Fantastic Fungi on Netflix.
I'll have to look that up.
He created that documentary, and it's actually like if you ever get time to watch it, like it's a really good one on mushroom. Oh,
I'm gonna watch it now. I'm a documentary fanatic. Have y'all done mushrooms?
No,
I've never.
No.
We have a community
of people that talk about it, and they talk about like microdosing's huge right now. I feel like tons of people are doing that.
Yeah.
I just haven't. I don't know. I've been on a different spiritual journey. I don't know if I'll be on that same path, but like if I did, I know the people.
Yeah.
But I think it's wild. People have really cool experiences on both sides.
Yeah,
done ceremonially, right? Have you tried it yet?
So I did. I was like curious. I wanted to try it. Heard a lot of good things, and so I did try it, but I didn't take enough. So I didn't feel anything, and I'm too afraid to try it again. So
yeah,
but I want to. Like I heard people talk about the mental benefits. That was around the time when I was dealing with some pretty intense anxiety. So I've heard like microdosing kind of helps calm all those chemicals in your brain that wire you up. So
yeah,
but I didn't.
That's Paul Stamets' story. Like he talks about taking like I think he ate like a couple grams or whatever of the raw mushroom, but like. He like climbs a tree in the middle of a thunderstorm, and he was a horrible stutterer like his whole life. And then when he was up in the tree, like having this wild experience, he was like, I don't want to stutter anymore. And he just made that an intention while he was at the top of this tree in this wild storm.
Came down and never stuttered again in his life.
Oh my gosh. That's fucking wild.
They say we did a podcast with his name's Jonathan Brown. His like handles like Quest the Conduit, and he does
really big into ceremonial.
Yeah, he speaks at psychedelic conferences and stuff, and he's local to us here. But like he says, when you take it, like it forces your brain to get out of like its regular dialogue and forces it onto the back streets, the back narrow pathways. So it literally can force you to rewire your thought processes. So we've thought about it. I tried Hape the other day for the first time. Have you heard of Hape? It's a South American traditional like tobacco is what, but it's blown up your nose.
Oh, I've seen people do that though. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. It's not hallucinogenic or nothing like that.
Nah, it's like I've never done it, but I have heard like the benefit. It's more of like a deep cleansing, like an emotional cleanse kind of thing.
Y'all have some interesting people on y'all's podcast. There's
some interesting people, man. Same with you though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the more people you bump into, the more interesting people kind of.
Yeah. The more fun it is too. Like it's like a giant box of crayons. Like everybody's personality is so colorful and different.
Yeah, I've always joked around. I want to go park somewhere like in Houston and have like a pop-up podcast and just talk to people like for 15 minutes, like as they walk by. Just be like, just talk to them, and like, because
that's a good idea. Yeah, you should do that.
I want to do that, like at a coffee shop or something. Just like ask people like what, I don't know, ask some type of question that gets them like deep talking about their career or life passions or something. But just make it like an hour long, but with like different people for 5 to 10 minutes.
That's a cool fucking idea.
Yeah, I do like that. There's so much you can learn from random people. Like, I love hearing people's stories. You probably do too, right? Like Absolutely. You have a podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love learning from like experts. Like, it doesn't make me an expert, but I feel like it's like a free education almost.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like when you reach out to someone like Jane Buxton, or you reach out to someone like Shannon Swan or Leah Keith, and you're like, "We have a conversation with me for free, like for an hour for a podcast." And they're like, "Yeah." You're like, fuck yes.
Yeah. Like, well, like before colleges were a thing, before like institutions were like accredited and taught people, like that's how people learned. They worked with like a doctor who was approved by like, I don't know, the Queen of England or whatever at the time to be a doctor. And then like to train other doctors, they just talked to them and they saw what they did. And that's how people became, I don't know, like craftsmen of the time, is like they just followed and talked to the people. Now we have like colleges and you go to like, you sit at this place to gain knowledge. And to me, it doesn't, I learn more by talking to people, like just like hearing from their real experiences.
Well, then you get to ask questions that you're curious about, like, and like you get to, it's a personal, I love the long forum conversations. I love them because you can like I saw you interviewed like a stark vegan the other day, and like, if you have a long conversation with someone like that, you can find ways to relate to each other.
Yeah, you start to see, like, I always call them patterns, but you start to see patterns, like either in people, whether they're really successful, or like maybe even in, like, we see patterns like with spirituality and fitness and careers. And then you see patterns in like, those are our ducks.
You're good. That's fine. That's fine.
But you start to see these patterns in people and things, and then like when you're talking to somebody on the total opposite fences, you realize people just want to be healthy.
Yep. No, absolutely.
That's true, and I think that's really cool. I love doing the podcast, man. I know you do too. Like at this point, like it's just fun. It's just fun. I love it. It's fucking even these conversations. Like I don't care if like our day is crazy busy. Like I want to make time.
Well, when in history would you be able to do this, right?
I know, right? Exactly.
Well, like connect with someone all the way in Texas and build like a friendship. Like you guys have like the friendship and now social media and now podcasts and like now in this point of existence, we can be like seeing each other as we talk.
It's wild. I love doing it too. I don't, even if like I always say I would do it for free. Even if I never ever made money off of it, I would continue to do it for free. It's fun.
Same. It's incredible the amount of like you said, the free knowledge you get. Like it's mind blowing, and then you have that knowledge forever. You can always listen to that episode. Whenever the fuck you want to. Like I've gone back and re-listened to several episodes that were like, what did she say? What did he say? Like there was something really golden in there. Like what was that? Yeah.
Same.
It's amazing, dude. I fucking love it.
Same, dude. Same.
And it feeds you. It feeds you.
Feeds the soul, dude. It's a passion.
Yeah.
So,
I totally.
So I got one last question. When's the cookbook coming out?
I don't know.
I'm looking forward to it. I keep telling Kelly, like, we're going to get some recipes from her and we're going to like start cooking.
I feel like it's really funny because there's a lot of people that ask all the time, and I don't know. I just haven't felt called to actually like push it through yet. Like, I feel like I have so much more experimenting to do to add to it. Like, I want it to be like this really like I don't know, intuitive Bible of cooking, like kind of like just this thing. And I want like a kids part, I want like, you know, family part, I want like a separate, you know what I mean, like the whole thing. But yeah, no, I being on an animal-based diet and still like wanting to make chocolate chip cookies, you've got really creative in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like you got a lot going on anyway, so no, I'm just joking.
Well, she's like how you are with the documentary. Like, she's like, at first she was kind of rushing it, and then she was like, "Nah, I don't have to."
It's like a creative outlet. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's this beautiful creative outlet that like you can do and create these cool things, like putting bone marrow in chocolate chip cookies for the kids and like their pancakes. Like, I have a couple recipes on that, and
that's a good idea.
It really makes the chocolate chip cookies taste way better. Yeah. It is very, it's like fat. It is fat, but like it is like butter, like on steroids.
Really?
Like the flavor is so, and then you start to realize all these fancy restaurants and these high profile people and chefs, this is what they're doing anyway. That's why their shit's so good.
That's wild. Right? I never would have thought to put.
They're not cooking with like, you know, Crisco. Yeah. Like, that's why their shit's so good, is because it's so nutritionally dense. But yeah, no, I think it'll be really cool when it's finished, but it's just a really great creative outlet for me. Like, after being at the studio or podcast or whatever we have going on that day, you know, like it's a way to like focus your energy in a creative, freeing kind of way.
Absolutely. No, I'm digging. I'm excited for it. And I greatly appreciate y'all's time today.
It was fun. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Fun. And thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
And when are you heading up this way to do your northern tour?
He wants you to come up so bad. He talks about it all.
So it's funny because y'all live, like, how far away is Ohio from y'all?
Depends. Like, we're really close to Ohio, but like the eastern
parts of Ohio.
Part of Ohio.
Yeah. What about, like, how far away is Akron from y'all, or Columbus?
I'd say 2 hours probably.
Oh, really? That close?
Yeah. Okay. I would say probably, like, just
probably.
To Akron, yeah, I'd say probably 2 hours.
So we plan on, even like outside of the documentary, you know, Kelly's family's there, and with our company, we can take our company's plane from Texas to Michigan. So instead of doing the public airfare, we take it to Michigan, and then we drive from Michigan to Ohio. So we'll have to plan a trip, man, and freaking connect, even outside the documentary if it's.
Yeah, come on out, man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man.
Be fun.
It'll be good. It'll be good. We'll make some cool shit happen. That's for sure.
Awesome. I had fun, and we'll be in touch. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. You have a good one. Talk to y'all later.
Later.
Bye.
See ya.